When white distributors saw that movie, they came up to, not me, they didn't dare come up to me, but they came up to the people who were working for us and trying to get us distribution. They said, we don't know any black people like that. We don't know any black women like that. And this is amazing because where's the racial angle here? I posit that that movie has so many racial angles. But what it starts from, the premise of the movie, and I take this back to this experience of love, the premise of the movie is that no one ultimately is going to mythologize my life. No one is going to refuse me the right to explore my experiences of life as normal experiences, neither outside nor inside, human experiences. And that the humanism of that experience is, I posit, the last hurdle we have to transcend.
Pitchfork does the like, what are your perfect 10 albums? That to me is a perfect 10 film. We could get into why later.
It's I would say vibrant, maybe quiet.
Dang, mine was colorful and surreal. So kind of coming off of you a little bit.
I don't know, I feel like it was like contemplative, like, or cerebral, I guess. And like deliberate.
I was thinking free and meditative and feathery.
I definitely would say it's dramatic, and also nuanced. It's about a married couple who are not so obviously aligned or compatible, and how they work through that incompatibility or what seems to be incompatibility.
The reason why it was hard to be picked up by films, by studios, is because like to sell it as like a man and wife having marital issues, like they're expecting it, like it would look a certain way.
Yeah.
But like that is literally what's going on. But I think like in the deeper capacity, like since we're following Sara's POV, even when we see Victor, like I don't get a sense of Victor's interiority. This is the same way that I do Sara, right? So I think it's more about a focus on Sara's realizations about herself, interior and exterior, than necessarily solely about the marriage. The marriage creates the conditions for Sara's realizations. Yeah.
It's interesting hearing them, like both of the characters individually describe like what they're struggling with, like both of their disciplines, because it feels like they're trying to uncover the same thing about abstraction. Like she is trying to figure out in her research, like with ecstasy or whatever she's trying to do, like, and also personally her own relationship with abstraction. And like he obviously is like an abstract painter, is trying to paint real things. So I feel like it's interesting because they don't really feel like they go together, but it's like the questions they're asking about their lives and situations are similar.
What do y'all think of the moment where she's like, nothing I do leads to ecstasy, and then turns to research, turns to like going to visit the psychic, or going to into the church, or going to the library like almost neurotically to read about ecstasy? I wonder how y'all interpret that. Like, what does it mean to be in pursuit of ecstasy?
To get to ecstasy, or to get to anything, to get to like the respect that you want from your husband, to get to the ecstasy that you want to feel, you actually need to let go. And she's so put together, and I think the resolve is like, in order to experience all the things that you want to experience, it's not in a book. You actually need to open yourself up. So yeah.
Honestly, I feel the same way. It's like, I feel like if I was to describe the film too, I would say that it feels like someone trying to search for something that's already in them outside of them. So that's really how I perceive the entire film. But it's presented with two people, but it's everybody that's doing that, kind of. So yeah.
Because I feel like even when she was talking with her mom, and her mom is making this kind of like call back to her childhood when she's like, yeah, you used to build your way into this castle, almost like her intellect is like alienating her, isolating her from her mom and her husband, the two people who we might assume understand her most deeply. But then as she's describing that, she's like, yeah, I have this feeling like when I reach a new interpretation and my mind just starts dancing. So the whole time I'm watching her be like, nothing I do leads to ecstasy. It's like, yes, what you're doing already is leading you to ecstasy, but it's the two people you're searching for a reflection of yourself in that aren't seeing it that almost is like making her question it.
Yeah, I feel like some of the problems that she's up against and the questions she's asking about like her feelings of ecstasy bring up questions about, for me in general, about like what does ecstasy mean in a gendered sense?
Yeah.
Like who gets to experience that? And like you see like the husband having these like revelations about his work or whatever. And she's having revelations too, but she like also cannot see that like what she's doing is tangible in the same way.
Yeah.
It made me feel like, it made me think of like Audre Lorde, like the erotics. It always goes back to that, I guess, but like just, you know, for women, like what does it mean to like actually pull from this like ancient dark place that we've been kind of conditioned to like not suppress. Yeah, we've been conditioned to suppress, you know? So I think that's kind of what you see happening narratively, like in these two characters in real time. Like you're seeing this question of erotic, like her wanting to bring it out, and I feel like it culminates in this explosion with the gun. But she's also like crying, which I think is such an interesting like juxtaposition, because I feel like even though she's just like this conserved, this really like suppressed individual, she has these moments of like laughter and like these little things that spill out. But I feel like the time that you see her crying is when she's like holding this gun. But it's interesting that that's when she's like feeling this like emotion of like tears.
What do y'all think about the moment where she pulls the gun out? How do y'all understand the way that we end, like where Kathleen Collins leaves that?
I just thought it's beautiful. I think the ending is beautiful. Like the way it unravels and like brings the story to a close. But it starts a new question, like you're kind of posing.
Yeah, I actually really love that. And I also love how the husband at the sort of validates that idea that she's releasing herself and letting go, because he made a face at the end like, oh, I understand, you know? And I think that's the first time in the film that he sort of showed us sort of empathy and for anything, really, so that's what made me be like, oh, he knows too, so.
I had a chance to meet Seret Scott and talk to her at this gathering. There was this thing called the Sojourner Truth Festival of the Arts that only met in 1973, and they had an anniversary meeting of it. I'm just looking for cars. The anniversary meeting of it, like in 2022, here in Chicago. And yeah, we were there. Yeah, okay. And so like one of the things that I remember that was the event was like there was one day in the morning where you could come. Everyone who was there was invited to come and give a name of someone who had passed. They had photos of people up on this altar, this temporary altar, and everyone was able to like say a name. And someone, Zainabu Irene Davis, was pouring water in honor of these people. And when someone spoke Kathleen Collins' name, everyone said, It was like everyone acknowledged her presence. And the thing is, like, while in our minds we're assuming that she was lost for a long time, what I've learned in these spaces is that, like, no one ever forgot her. The people who were like Julie Dash, they never forgot her. Like everyone's like, she is the reason why I started filmmaking. She's the first person who taught me how to do this. She's the first person that showed me I could do this. And so like all of the Black women directors and writers, filmic writers that we think of have always carried her in their work, even if they don't say we're not interviewed and said her name as it were. So when I see it, I don't think that like, and I understand how prolific she was in all kind of creative art capacity. She was a philosopher, you know, she studied abroad. She studied at the Sorbonne under, I can't remember, you know, she was brilliant. She had all these other manifestations of her life. She had a child, and her daughters just became a grandmother like 2 days ago. Like, you know, I think that like I don't think of her as like never reaching her pinnacle, because in the capacity, like if we think about like just Black filmmaking anyways, like I think a lot of people are like, oh, what if she would have changed Hollywood? It's like, no, she wouldn't have. She wouldn't have changed Hollywood because that wasn't her desire. So I that's what I think. I think like she has such a presence.
I was also at the Sojourner Truth thing, and like when I was there, I learned that that film almost didn't get made because they ran out of location permits.
Yeah.
So a lot of that film was shot like
A friend's
guerrilla
house.
style.
Yeah. And
What I found really interesting were the moments that combined the student film direction or the voiceover direction with the non-diegetic like filmic action. And so like the pan down from the trees and then turn scenically, and you think that we're the camera he's talking to the student director, and then it zooms out, and then you see the actual cameraman that's supposed to be taking instruction. So I thought that was a really nice setup for later uses of the student director voiceover dialogue, because it's like a not an excuse, but like a shortcut to talk about the film without having to show the camera again or set it up over again. So I thought that was really, really interesting. It's also really nice to see a Bolex on the screen.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that only other filmmakers could do in like a really subtle way. That bounce between thinking about the camera, not thinking about the camera, and when is it important for you to know that there's somebody behind it. Or that this is constructed because it reminds you it's a mediated experience.
I feel like for me, the way she pulled off making a movie within a movie that looked like something that I would want to watch, it's very admirable. And yeah,